Welcome to Education Plus, your podcast for education sector. We will be meeting with different types of individuals and pioneers in education, from higher education, early learning, K-12, private sector, to learn from their experiences, to learn from their adventures, their challenges, and their contribution to the education sector. Today we had a very special guest with us on Education Plus podcast, Taqi Albaharna from St. Chris Year 13. We had an interesting discussion on his vision of what a future school needs to look like, the life values, the mindsets that are important for the young generation. And it was a very interesting and creative discussion, and we're happy to have had him with us today on this episode. Hi, today I have with me Taqi Albaharna from St. Chris School Year 13 and on our Education Plus podcast. And I'm very interested to have a discussion with him about the future, about the mindset, the habits of learning, and what does he envision education venturing in the future. So Taqi, tell me a little bit about your habits, the mindset that you use to grow intellectually.
I think the most important thing for my intellectual growth throughout the years, and I'm talking since a very, very young age, has to be reading. Reading is what I attribute most of my I don't want to say intelligence, but a lot of my
growth
mindset, yeah. And how I interact with people throughout my daily life.
Gives you a lot of depth as well.
Exactly.
Very good.
So I'm grateful to have that instilled in me from a very young age.
Very good. So your generation now is facing a lot of I wouldn't say challenges, but exciting innovations such as AI and technology integration at a very high level. Did you feel that this kind of impacted the way you look at learning or the way you feel your mindset is set?
To an extent, yes, but I believe that change for me at least has mostly been positive. So of course, with the younger generation than mine, it would be much more prevalent in their life. But for me, AI only really came into my educational lifestyle about 2 years ago. Mm-hmm. So, but yeah, there has indeed been a change, and I think the vast majority of it is in more menial tasks. So research-based and things that could otherwise have been avoided.
Things that can save you time
exactly.
Consumption.
Yeah.
Very good, very good. What about interacting with AI? Do you feel there are times where you feel you want to be more curious about certain things and how the interaction takes place with it?
Absolutely, yes. Sometimes I'd be having a discussion with friends regarding a certain topic, and then I'd ask AI, for example, for alternative viewpoints regarding that. So that interaction factor is definitely there.
And what are you planning to major in?
So inshallah, law is the goal, and yeah, that's what I'm working to. I'm going to be starting this September, UK University.
Okay,
deciding on the one.
Exciting.
So, exciting, yeah.
So do you think technology is going to play a big role in the major of law in the future? Do you think that it's going to be complementing it, or it would be a useful tool, for example?
I believe it already has. However, that change that we're going to experience with law and that interaction with AI, I think it's going to be much less significant towards other careers. Mm-hmm. So for example, engineering, to an extent accounting, chartered finance, all of these things, I believe they're far more susceptible to AI because unlike law, they don't have that necessary human interaction. That element of interaction, sure, you could read up all the statutes, you could read up all the, a whole country's constitution.
Yeah.
Yet unless you have that human interpretation in the mix,
yeah,
it'll really suffer. But of course, it's really interesting watching AI develop, and there will be an impact yet.
So life skills, those are important, lifelong learning, and fundamental for any generation to maintain. And some generations carry it as intergenerational eventually. What type of life skills do you think are very important for your generation right now? And you might actually carry those with you and feel that I want to make sure that my own children, for example, get those life skills, even if the culture is changing or the community is changing.
So for me, first of all, top priority, critical thinking. And inherently, as a consequence of that, you'll have problem solving come with that naturally.
Yeah.
So as an aspiring lawyer, I think obviously I'm going to be a bit biased to say that is my answer.
Yeah.
But I truly believe it's more important than these other more academically focused skills such as being good at maths, being good at science, because in the end of the day, like this critical thought's gonna help you excel in the business world.
True.
Rather than just like in terms of
True.
this major or like.
And now you mentioned critical thinking. You know, with lots of students depending on technology for answers, they are becoming less and less critical thinkers because they're just taking the information and just using it and not actually analyzing it and putting it in. Because critical thinking means you also have to consider your own perspective and your own, to have a voice, to have agency. So it's very important, as you said, and whether it's law or any other major, but definitely is very. Any other life skills you think are also important to carry forward with you?
Emotional intelligence.
Emotional.
Absolutely. And it should definitely be instilled from a very, very young age. It's definitely not the schools or any educational institution's job to teach that.
Yeah.
Rather, it's the household itself who should be, passing them on to their kids. And
True.
I
That's
think,
very
like,
mature of you to think that way at such a young age. But yes, of course,
like
emotional
in
intelligence.
my own children, for example, like these two are going to be, top of my priority.
And you think you're going to hold on to these values and those life skills and make sure that you instill those later on?
Absolutely.
Very good.
It's not a topic of debate.
Yeah. So Taqi, tell me about how you envision a school of your choice. If you were given the option to design a school with all its elements, the environment, the culture, the academics in it, what would be your vision of that?
Well, definitely, I believe I'd rather have a lot more cultural integration going into my school. Like, especially like within this country itself. Like, I believe it's so important to embed into kids, like whether they're expats or not, where they're from, like where they're currently residing in. And that like whole cultural interaction is definitely
So sense of belonging.
Sense of belonging, exactly.
Sense
of, indeed, sense of belonging, as you said.
Yeah.
Also like.
What about academic-wise?
Academically wise.
Yeah.
So I definitely restrict the amounts of options that the children have with regards to what they're intending to choose, like choose as subjects. Like it may sound strange, especially like coming from a youth, like because nothing like you'd expect the
I do expect the opposite, that you guys want the option.
Exactly.
So what you're saying is
like
we don't want the options. Just
tell
us what we need to do and we'll do it.
And then we'll do it, exactly. Because I think it's like really problematic to give a kid like
too many decisions at an early age
to make.
Okay.
And like these decisions are going to inherently affect what? Their university application.
Yes.
De facto their whole life. Their future choice.
Everything at a young age.
For example, if someone didn't study biology, like who neglected it as a younger student, they won't be able to study medicine even if they want to later on.
True.
It's like
true. Those very young age decisions can be designing and altering your future. What else would you look like? Like what would the school look like? Would it look like a spaceship, or would it look so futuristic? Would it have robots? Would it have lots of AI integration into it?
Honestly, in terms of like robotics and all that thing, I would definitely steer away from that. Another aspect of being quite traditional with regards to that topic. Like, I believe the most integral part of being in school is that interaction with my teachers. So like these like real world discussions, even from their experience, like that we bring and like have these like sorts of one-on-one debates. So like obviously like you can't have that with ChatGPT or like some sort of
so less technology, less choices, more structured, but culture is very important.
But culture is 100%.
Very good. What about like focus in the vision or mission of this school? Would it be something in the line of we want to have resilience, want to have empathy, kindness? Like, what would the values be of this school?
I think like those should be synonymous with those cultural values. So like obviously like resilience, empathy, a sense of belonging, acceptance to everyone within that community. And I think the best way in order to do that, to foster that whole like empathy for everyone within the community, is just to embed these cultural values in them. See something about like Bahraini culture, for example.
Very good. That's true. It's very much.
It's true, yeah.
And what about like helping students make choices for the future, right? Because eventually this is a school and you'll have to make those decisions of what you want to do in the future. Do you think more of like hands-on learning experiences and less of textbook, testing knowledge-wise? Or do you think it should be a 50-50 or?
Honestly, I think it should be about 75-25, like in regards to like proper like theory and practical.
So 25 would be the practical part?
25 would be the practical aspect, 75 would be the theory inherently.
Yeah.
So like, for example, like even with some of my A-levels, like English, it's like 80% theory and 20% we're able to like explore whatever pieces of literature we want to do.
Yeah.
And I think like I really admire that because like while it does indeed like keep you like within range, like it keeps you focused on a certain thing, because obviously too much option is
Again,
be to the detriment
you don't like
of the
options.
student. I don't like
Okay.
too many options.
Okay.
Like also like giving you the freedom to explore like all these different.
What about timing? Do you
perspectives.
think timing should continue to be traditional, like come in at a specific time, leave at a specific time at the end of the day, or do you think it should be more fluid, like there should be more opportunities of students not having to be in such a structured time limit?
I think like the main philosophy between like these set time limits, even though they may be extreme to some people's viewpoints, is discipline. Because obviously like in the workplace, you're not expected, you should not show up 30 minutes, an hour past just because you felt like it.
True.
Just because you woke up late, just because something went wrong.
Yeah.
Like I think that discipline should be instilled from a young age.
Okay.
And one of the best forms to do that is, of course, you have to come in at this time, you leave at this time.
So you think that some of these like tradition aspects of the current educational system, like the timing, the structure of the exams, the structure of the choices, the tradition of delivering the content and all of that, these are important even if we're talking about the future,
Absolutely.
the unknown, changeable future. You still feel that those would be important elements to keep as part of the values and keep as part of the processes. Very good. What about different types of physical activities, or do you think that sports should continue being, or should be up as an option to those who wish to engage in physical activities, and those who don't can just focus on, I don't know, building robots, for example, robotics?
Yeah. So no, physical activity should definitely be a necessity. Like it shouldn't be up to the individual student to decide, because for example, like it's gonna start there.
Yeah.
What's it gonna end up in? A student saying, I'm not gonna attend this lecture, I'm not gonna attend this class. And yeah, it just should be mandatory. Like it
So your concern is that if the young generation is given lots of options, they tend not to make the best, more or less, decisions, or they can get more confused.
Absolutely.
Right?
Yeah.
Okay, very
That's a
good,
good point.
very good. What about this like new innovative schooling patterns that are coming up right now, where it's like classrooms without walls and giving students some independent learning study time? Do you feel that that should be embedded also? Or you're like more into the traditional structured,
I mean, to an extent it should, yeah. Like with regards to the curriculum, I believe 100% there should be many reforms made.
Yeah.
Yet with these like more like emerging aspects of teaching, emerging manners,
Yeah.
I believe you can experiment with them 100%, because lecture-based learning is inherently problematic. Like one student's going to be sitting in front of a whiteboard or a blackboard or whatever have you, being explained something to. Like there's only so much of that they're actually going to absorb.
Yeah.
It's like more interactive, like as you said, like classrooms without walls is.
What about like hybrid learning, like giving the students the opportunity to just switch online sometimes and sometimes be there? Do you think that was a time where COVID gave us a taste of that type of learning? Do you think that that also should be kind of introduced or be an option for some students?
I don't think it should, unfortunately, yet I think it can be embedded in some useful ways.
Yeah.
Yet I believe like having that whole hybrid system is really flawed, because not many students would really have that effort, like that push to hop on class, for example, or probably like participate in the lectures or topics as much as they
and
would.
And the
if in
networking
a
option is also
of course, that aspect
not
of
there,
social life
that-
is completely
exactly.
lacking.
Very good.
Like it's,
yeah.
it really feels superficial, like throughout like the COVID years. for
And you
me.
guys value that, right?
We
like
value that
social
100%, yeah.
interaction is very important, and it complements the learning journey of the students.
Absolutely.
And do you think that, for example, that there should be some sort of a limitation or a quota on the use of technology as well when it comes to the the learning journeys of
Absolutely.
students?
Like
Yeah.
I'm quite a traditionalist, like from this aspect, because I believe one of the largest distractions, like from personal experience as well, even me myself, is technology.
Okay.
Like we have access like to everything at our disposal, everything at our fingertips. It just really detracts from like why should one focus when they could be doing.
True,
God
because
knows what
I
in front of
mean,
them.
it's supposed to be like a tool,
Exactly,
and not
a
really
tool.
replacing the curiosity or the critical thinking
exactly,
skills
like
of
the human
of
interaction with the teacher that would
Exactly.
help foster that critical thinking.
True,
Like,
true. Now, if
we
you
should value
had,
that.
if you had the option, if somebody asked you, or I'm asking you basically, of somebody that you would love to mentor you, coach you, be a shadow for you in the future, who would be that, figure for you?
Honestly, it may seem like an obvious choice, but definitely the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Like in terms of every aspect of life, even like the more minute details, like forget about like the more spiritual or what have you, like these details. Like even in terms of diet, in terms of knowledge, in terms of seeking ilm, like we have many things said by the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. For example, the virtues of having honey. All these, like having dates, like all of these things left behind by Prophet are all for a specific reason. Studies are emerging that, for example, take honey, it's an antioxidant, it helps with anti-inflammatory. And imagine this was what, 1400 years ago, when none of this scientific or medical resources like were at anyone's disposal. So that'd be the predominant figure.
That's it's very deep,
Deep. Exactly.
that you have went all the way down to that and chosen, but definitely a very honorable figure and coach that you could have chosen. Tell me a little bit about, what your aspirations, what do you envision law is going to look like in the future? Like, by the time you graduate, do you feel that it's going to be a practice that is more embedded into what AI is going to support it or technology is going to support it? Or do you think it's still going to require a lot of human interaction?
I think that aspect of human interaction will really always be prevalent, regardless. Like I'm talking about the near future at least, like we won't know how that's going to turn out in 20, 30 plus years. But like I think a legal system that, like the UK legal system, for example, it's shown that it's like rarely susceptible to change. Like it really likes maintaining traditions. So obviously, like I'll be studying the British system, and I don't think that will be too heavily influenced. Yet there will always be that positive interaction, that whole like play between AI and like research.
Very good.
That'll be beneficial.
Thank you, Taqi, for joining me today.
Thank you for having me. It's been an honor to discuss these things with you.
Same here. And it's nice to always see what the young generation holds dear and value for the future. And wishing you all the best in your future endeavors as well.
Much appreciated.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you for watching this episode of Education Plus podcast. And always remember, where there's a will, there's a way.